Hello, good morning, and many thanks indeed for joining us on Morning Prime. It is the 15th of February 2022, and today it's all about Siasa Fiesta, and we have a guest already who are lined up for today's show, and of course we'll have a very, very incisive look on what is happening as far as the political arena is concerned. We have with us already in studio, this is Senator Aaron Cheriota Pandali. And of course, he will be also taking us through the dailies together. We're eagerly waiting for Dr. Senior Counsel Otiende Molo to join us as well, and Dan Mazo to be on the program as we look at the political events of the day. A lot that is on the ground. We can see the campaign trail is getting hotter and hotter by the day. Ruto has been or is still in Nyeri. We had also Azimio in Migori, Oka Kenya as well is pushing the envelope to try and gain more voters as well, even when we have allegations of extortion, right? Is that really hyperbole as far as yesterday's dailies were concerned regarding Oka and Kalonzo Musyoka? We'll have Dan Mazo to put things into perspective as far as that allegation is concerned. We see where we're headed. You know the drill. You can head over to our Twitter handle, which is at KTN News, KE. That is where you can use your socials to comment on the program, ask questions, or also contribute to the discussion as well. And you can hang your thoughts on the hashtag Morning Prime. All right, let's see what is fresh off the press this morning. My name is Dibala and I'm glad that you've joined us today. Wishing you a good day if you're stepping out of the house. But you'll be remiss if you don't see the dailies. We begin with the bold paper, which is holding this particular splash for you. Envoys are warning Kenyans on the free elections. Envoys are warning Kenyans on free elections. That is what we have on the front page of the Standard this morning. It's all about Uhuru's transition. Accusations and counter-accusations about rigging claims prompt European ambassadors to hold high-level talks with top government officials seeking assurance that polls will be fair. And this story is tucked away on page 4 of the Standard today. And on that lineup, we can see Ukur Yatani, who is the National Treasury CS, saying the economy was rebounding and that GDP will grow by 7.5% in the first quarter. And this was yesterday's meeting between the envoys and the Cabinet Secretary Interior. This is Dr. Fred Matiang'i, concerning the upcoming general election and how also we have a very heightened political tensions in the country. We have also Joe Mushero, who is the RCTCS, saying that government will respect media space and ensure internet is not shut down during elections. Also, we have Aline Kusta Minaga, who is a French envoy. I hope I got it right. They said they were keen to see how government is planning to ensure continuity after polls. Also, Jean Marriott, UK High Commissioner to Kenya, said they're seeking assurance foreign investment won't be negatively affected by poll activities. And we have a bite here from Fred Matiang'i, Interior CS, saying, quote unquote, today we've given assurance to our partners that as a country we are ready to proceed and facilitate the IBC to conduct the elections. This story is tucked away on page 4 of the Standard this morning. And of course, we'll be giving you also the news bulletin on that to just get a feel of what was happening yesterday. Egerton reopens under 6.1 billion shillings debt burden. Universities VC says the money they receive from government is hardly enough to pay salaries, and there are other outstanding financial obligations the Brook institution has to meet. This story is tucked away on page 8 of the Standard this morning. Also, Valentine's pressure, the killer of romance. How was it yesterday? Research shows that lovers are under pressure to spend a lot of money on gifts, thus straining relationships. Indeed, many relationships break just before or after Valentine's. You can read all the details there on page 3. Reprieve for motorists as fuel prices unchanged. Nothing happened on that particular front as far as April is concerned, changing the fuel. Remember, today is 15th. They normally do the review mid-month. That story continues on page 33 of the Standard today. Family agony as dead miner still trapped. Family agony as dead miner still trapped. This is such a harrowing story to wake up to, just to realize this is Tony that had been trapped in that particular tragedy that we had in Bondo. And if he's still there, he is not alive for those many days indeed. And this will be miraculous if he's indeed alive under the rubble. And this reminds me the story of that young boy that fell. That was in the Middle East. I can't remember the country exactly, but a whole nation, the boy that fell in the well, the whole nation was stuck on that particular story. Everything ground to a halt to make sure that the young boy is rescued. But the rescue efforts were futile. He died afterwards. But we could see the collective effort that came from every citizen in that country. I'll remember the country and, of course, also tell you about it. But it's just a reflection of where we are as Kenyans, that if one life is under the rubble, do we just continue with life apace, as if nothing is really happening? From the county to the national level, this man, and I know we were talking about it, Tony, was under the rubble, and we were saying there's still one person remaining there. We saw the last one being rescued, but to my consternation, I think this is really, really heart-wrenching to hear this morning. This story on page 8 of the Standard this morning. And maybe I should just rope in Aaron Cheriot today on this particular story, as he also just, of course, introduced himself freshly this morning to greet you. Good morning, Aaron.
Good morning, Tibal.
Yes.
And, good morning to our viewers. It's a terrible, terrible story.
Yes.
It's about what actually many Kenyans go through.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the challenge with our country, which is something that we really must push those that are seeking to lead this country currently to make a commitment to, is that restoration of public institutions. Because of how we have managed our economy over the years, there are very few public institutions that still have capacity to handle that which they were created for. Their reason deter, if I may put it that way. And I say that to say this. I don't think the rescue operations, if you are to check the rescue operations either by county or national government.
That's on page 8, yes.
Yeah, on page 8.
Of the Standard.
Of the Standard. Is not that they do not want to actually participate in these rescue efforts. But chances are you'll find that their capacity has been so badly hampered by years of continued underfunding to a point that they'll tell you that, we know what it will take to attend to such a situation, but we don't have the necessary equipment. Therefore, we must build back a culture where all our public institutions actually are properly equipped to handle all these situations. We got to a point where there was this massive obsession by successive regimes, both President Moi, President Kibaki's, and now, on huge infrastructure projects.
Yes.
While they are important, they relegated other previous institutions. And there is no government institution that is actually formed in vain. All of them are formed with a primary reason that they're supposed to attend to a particular cause. Even regional development authorities, you know, anti-drought agencies, all these institutions, if you read through their formation profile and the policy papers that informed their being founded, you'll realize that they were all founded on very good need basis, that there was actually good reason why they were set up. But unfortunately, most of them currently, and if you go through the budget that is presented before Parliament, they get nothing beyond recurrent expenditure actually. That is money to pay salaries and maybe just buy pens and paper, and that's just about it.
But Senator, let me ask you, should this be a national, sort of tragedy?
It depends.
If we have miners who are trapped there, I think it's beyond also the capacity of a county.
Yes,
then collectively.
That's
Look,
why
that boy I'm talking about is the 5-year-old Moroccan boy who was called Ran. And we saw the whole country, marching after that particular well to just give support to the family and try and rescue. Here we had over 10. Actually, nine people were trapped under the rubble.
It's not that easy for counties, given the amount of funding that we are giving unto them, which is about only 15 to 20% of our national budget. That's why I kept on insisting that, our counties are hardly 10 years old, so you don't expect them to have built sufficient capacity to be able to respond to this amount of a tragedy of this magnitude. This is something that you'd expect perhaps the national government or even private institutions to have the capacity for. However, having said that, you must know that, for example, you have the National Mining Corporation, NMC, which is yet to properly set up. This will fall squarely under their mandate, in terms of being the sector's regulatory body, in ensuring that any mining site, by their own volition, before set up, have got the systems to respond to tragedies of this magnitude. Because this is nothing uncommon. Such things normally happen in mines. You've read about it in Morocco, in Chile, in Brazil, different parts of the world, that this thing happen. But what makes the difference between those countries and us is in how their mines are set up to a point. I think you're referring to the case of the Moroccan. Remember the issue with Chileans who stayed there for close to 60 days.
69 days. Yes.
You can only do that if the safety standards were observed while setting up the mine, how the trenches were dug, and what safety precautions are set up even as you continue to dig deep inside. So it begs the question also, how do we do our mines in the country? Does a regulatory body ensure that many of these miners are safe as they continue to go underneath?
Safety concerns.
So those are the things, questions that we need to continue to ask and push the regulatory agencies, to demand of all the players in the mining sector that safety concerns continue to rise. This is not the only case. You remember, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, there was a similar case. I don't know whether it was in Homa Bay or Tiende come from, or to Siaya, where there were miners also who were trapped, and I think some made it out alive, while others didn't. So it's a continuing case which perhaps the regulator, first of all, needs to issue a notice and remind, because the beauty with Kenya is that it's never for want of good laws that such tragedies occur. It is always more than the case, more than not, that it is poor enforcement that causes all this tragedy. Otherwise, if you go through the charters that sets up many of these mining institutions, you'll find that they make commitments about their environmental safety procedures, their evacuation procedures in case of a collapse of a, of a mining well, and all these things. However, because government is weak on its enforcement, then we find ourselves with such situations. Therefore, it is important at this particular point to begin to push actually the regulatory agency led by Ministry of Mining. And this is one such instance where the Minister for Mining, or the CS, because I think the minister has since resigned to go and contest in Turkana. I think he resigned. And perhaps...
Yeah, he did. But yes, we saw the minister also at one time going to Bondo. But that was it. It was just a one-time visit.
They need to issue...
They never put out any effort to make sure that there's a follow-up. If every mine that is under the rubble,
to file their safety procedures and observe them. And without which, they shouldn't get their annual renewal license. That's the reason why many of these government agencies, we give them actually the mandate to renew licenses annually. It is so that people can observe certain procedures.
Thank you. If you're just joining us, we are looking at the Standard, and of course looking at the headlines there. And the story we are just commenting on is on the miners that were trapped in Bondo. Still, we have Tony, I believe, because Tony was a person who was still missing under that particular rubble, and family still in agony as dead miners still trapped. That is what he's saying. And of course, yes, by now he should be trapped and he should be dead, given the days that he's been under the rubble, and no efforts at all has come from there. I just want to hear from Dr. Senior Counsel Otiende Amolo as well on this particular development in that area, and just how we should be concerned of the life of one Kenyan. We've seen other countries, if even that was in the US, you know, a pastor was in Tunisia who was locked up by the president because of preaching Christianity there, but we saw a whole country rallying and putting, you know, sanctions that he should be released. How so that also we as a country should be concerned for 9 lives that are trapped under the rubble? Otiende, good morning, good to see you.
Good morning. And it's a particularly sad story. I will have you know that Tom Okwach
is here.
Presumed to have died by now, is actually from my constituency.
He's from your constituency?
Yes, from a place called Kagwa, although their Bimbo mines were actually in Bondo constituency. And since this tragedy, a lot of effort has been made. And initially, we had contacted jointly with Dr. Ochanda, the national government, and the National Disaster Management Team was quite prompt on the scene. And, you know, they were there for a few days, for some days.
Dr. Ochanda, the area MP.
Yeah, the area MP. Then they seemed just to have pulled out. The county government initially assisted, but their assistance has not been substantial. I can tell you that for the last 2 months, it is the family directly that has been trying what it can to recover the body, you know, through volunteers. And so every day they make meals for the volunteers who have actually had to work with only one excavator, being paid by the family. And from time to time, even me as the Member of Parliament, I've had to chip in. The situation has not been very good because sometimes they make progress and then with the sporadic rains, the soil just collapses. And so all that they have excavated then comes back. And unfortunately, to say the truth right now, both the national government and the county government have left the family to their own designs. And it's a helpless and tragic situation. They are still trying and we still keep contributing. I'm in contact with the family, some of the family members, and I've been contemplating a situation where we may have to ultimately sue. Because for the mine to collapse in this manner, it means first they were not well regulated in terms of safety.
Yes.
But having collapsed, then the failure even to secure the life of those who are trapped, and especially the failure to retrieve the body after 2 months, is a failure on government in terms of security of the person, which is an assurance given under the Constitution. There is no reason why 2 months down the line, the national government cannot retrieve, you know, the body of one trapped miner. You know, sometimes I think we are also in a situation of differential treatment. Different tragedies are treated differently. You know, sometimes you see that there's you know, an unfortunate death, say like in Likoni Ferry, maybe there's a car that has sunk, and then the entire government machinery from the Navy to, you know, to everyone else is deployed there at any cost. But then some of these tragedies in our part seem to be treated as lesser tragedies. And that would be part of what we would be, you know, focusing on. So we are in discussion with the family, even as we continue to support them in this loan effort. But we're in discussion to, you know, to possibly take the government to court.
Fantastic, fantastic. And that is on the front page of Standard today. Yes, family agony as a dead miner still trapped. That is Tony Okwach, as we've heard from Dr. Senior Counsel Otiende Amolo on this as well. Still on the front page of the Standard, on top there, Ngilu says Kalonzo should join Raila team or fall. Kitui governor says Ukambani people want to be in next government and the Wiper leader cannot win presidency, therefore he has to join the winning team. This story is on page 14 and 15. And of course, this, I know, Dan Mazo will take special umbrage with that particular statement from Ngilu to Kalonzo. Yeah?
Maybe he agrees. Why do you?
Maybe he agrees.
Why you assuming for him?
I should not be preempting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not holding brief for Dan Mazo, but yes, this is what Ngilu thinks. Yes, that if Kalonzo does not join Raila, he is not bound to win the presidency. So is he batting his head on the wall as far as the presidency is concerned? And of course, also will raise queries on yesterday's, dailies where they were reporting of extortion. So is it a matter of just hyperbole that was coming from the press?
Billion.
3 billion that he's seeking to join Azimio. Is that correct? You'll tell us more about that. But let's comment on this particular issue that Ngilu is raising.
Yes, you know the two matters are related, and you can see it is a systematic attempts to cajole or push or force the Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka to join Azimio. So it's been systematic, and going back to what was running yesterday, and the allegations and the tweeting of Dr. Alfred Mutua, the outgoing governor of Machakos, is the same thing. You see, if you allege that for you to join Azimio, you have demanded for 3 billion shillings. First of all, the money has been demanded from who? Who has the money been demanded from? That's the person who should be talking, not a person who has been consistently a bearer of bad news or bad will or intention against the Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka. So as much as there is insistence that Kalonzo Musyoka must join Raila Odinga, what if the Azimio team loses? It's also a possibility. What guarantee is Ngilu having 100% that the teaming up of Kalonzo Musyoka and Raila Odinga will win the election? We are familiar, and you know what happened in the last two elections. 2013, we joined Raila Odinga. 2017, the lower eastern voted seriously, probably more than Nyanza, to Raila Odinga. We still lost the election. In fact, every one of us, all the governors, all the members of parliament, no one in Ukambani was not behind Raila Odinga then. And we lost the election. So, according to Ngilu, what has changed much? That we must really join that team. So I don't agree with that at all. I have demanded for data, so that.
What data?
The government always has data on voting patterns. You are likely to know what you have lost, because I want to admit that if the election were to be done today, I think Huda will win. Huda will win the elections if the election were done today. From what has been going around, from the fact that now Ukambani is no longer with Raila Odinga, part of cost is gone.
But you're warming up to Raila Odinga, aren't you? Because you've excluded Uda, you've been very categorical that Uda is not an option, right? So we are actually proffering our hands to people who are like-minded. So what other options do you have on the table if it's not Oka?
One of the options is to run all the way.
Run all the way?
Yes, we have enough time,
Kalonzo, Ngilu thinks that actually, Kalonzo can't really pass muster as far as running all the way is concerned and get this presidency.
Nothing is impossible. You can still run all the way. Nothing. In fact, Kenya is a multi-party democracy, and there is an effort of pushing people into one party. As much as is a reasonable thing to do, if you really want to put numbers to win an election, there must be that option of multipartyism in the country. You can see it is the same ideology with UDA, that you join us, you break your party and join, and when you join as an individual. It's somehow going into one party system. And what guarantees that if you vote together, you will be in government, that the combination will be a share of the government? What shareholding really can you get? You know, there are a lot of questions that come up. So that, is it a pre-election coalition or could it be a post-election coalition? So I think that we do not have to cajole, you don't have to lie, you don't have to destroy the good name of Kalonzo Musyoka in an effort to force and push him to join Raila Odinga.
Okay, let me just come to you, Aaron Cheruiyot, and ask you about that particular claim that was there on the People Daily, that 3 billion bribery claim rocks Kalonzo's boat. You think this is just purely mudslinging? Of course, we're in this season, and the people normally talk about political industrial complex. Many of them are as well politicians make good money in this particular season. So can we outrule the fact that money is being exchanged on the table for people to join coalitions at the end of the day? And maybe 3 billion shillings is an exaggeration.
It depends on who is speaking. If it is a politician in the caliber of Alfred Mutua, then I can never believe him. He's not a man of honor. He's not somebody whose words are respectable. On many occasions, even on things that I'm factual about, I have seen him actually speak words that are not truthful. Therefore, I'd wish to believe that what he said about Kalonzo Musyoka is not true. That is not factual, at least just based on past history and what I know about Alfred Mutua, that this is a man who can actually lie without batting his eyes and be comfortable about it. So I do not think that is true. I also agree with my good friend Dan here that what is the assurance? There's nothing new that Ngilu is asking Kalonzo to do. I mean, he's done that the last 2 elections. He's been with Raila Odinga and they never formed government. So therefore, in fact, if I were Kalonzo Musyoka, I'd actually do the opposite. Because remember what is it they say about insanity? It's about trying to do the same thing
over and over
and expecting different results each time.
Yes.
And in fact, Kalonzo has been public about this, says he'd be the biggest fool around this town if he decides to back Raila Odinga a 3rd time, you know. Yet, what is in public knowledge is that the agreement, and I'm told...
Don't you think he spoke too soon?
No.
Because given the recent developments that we have, that now there is a window of opportunity for...
This is a challenge Kalonzo continues to have. I told you that this Political Parties Act last week, remember what I told you?
Yes.
That it is a law created to cushion other political players from the machinations of Raila Odinga, where he takes advantage of other political players in the political circle. That he has actually should change virtually every other political player to a point that you have to do a law for him for people to be at least comfortable working with him. I know for a fact, and I have seen Wiper speak about this in their press conferences, and I have no reason to doubt it, that the agreement they had between them and ODM was that win or lose, they were going to back Kalonzo Musyoka for the presidency in 2022, which is this year's election cycle. All indications are that Raila Odinga is running, meaning that he doesn't want to honor the word they agreed with Kalonzo in 2017. You know, if a man doesn't want to keep his word when it is your turn to benefit, then why would you want to work with that particular person? And therefore, I get the struggle that Kalonzo Musyoka is in, despite the fact that he'd be under pressure from the single underwriter, you know, of Azimio, who is none other than President Uhuru Kenyatta. He'd be under pressure to sign him on and have him join the gravy train that is Azimio. Facts are pushing him towards the opposite side because he looks at the person that is being pushed to work with, and this is a person who has such serious trust deficit in the political ecosystem of a country that is Kenya. Somebody who has not had a good relation with respecting other political party players. Therefore, this attempt to force Kalonzo towards a particular direction is completely unfair, to the point of mudslinging him and trying to taint his image. Why can't people just openly declare their need? In any case, Ngilu, Kivuda, and Mutua have been bragging that they have, you know, the span of control within Ukambani region. Why can't they go it alone? Why are they begging Kalonzo to
So they should flex their muscles right now?
Let them flex their muscles. We see how strong they are.
So is Ngilu now a misery to try and,
Of course, she's part of the system that is trying
to test the waters to see how the reaction will be.
Not to test the water, to try and chaperone Kalonzo into a particular political direction.
And just one more issue, the resolve of the people of Kampani as of now, right now, is that if then Kalonzo goes back to Raila Odinga, then they vote Huda. So when you have such a situation, why will you not
just backtrack?
follow?
You said if Kalonzo goes what?
Goes to back Raila for presidency, then the people will riot, just like they have done in Central
So
Province.
it will be a protest vote, actually.
It will be a protest vote. So the Honorable Charlie Ngilu and his other two governors are really, they have their own personal interest in this matter. Why will Mutua use words like Kalonzo should release the Wiper people to Azimio? It means they are feeding the hold. It means, and the people of Kampani for now have resolved, because I visit the ground quite often. They have resolved that they want the Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka to run all the way, whatever he scores.
Thank you.
Yes, yes.
Right, let's hear from Motinde Omolo, if you may just chime in on that as well. I think you can also hear from what Aaron Cheriot is saying regarding Raila Odinga, the trust deficit, and yes, Kalonzo has been very categorical.
I have always said that Aaron and his team see the shadow of Raila everywhere. The question was direct. It was about Kalonzo Musyoka. But Aaron Cheriot succeeds in mentioning Raila's name 7 times in answering a question about Kalonzo Musyoka. That's the irony of it.
You counted, actually.
He cannot, yes, I was just counting quietly. He cannot even answer a question about Kalonzo Musyoka directly without bringing Jacom's name into it. And secondly, my friend Dan Manzo sometimes amazes me. Last week he was here and he said, which is true, that although Kalonzo Musyoka had earlier said that he would be a big fool to work again with Raila, that was the earlier statement. His later statement, which is what holds to date, is that yes, he is open and they're open to joining any coalition, but the UDA coalition, or now it's called what, Kenya Kwanza or something like that, another version of Kenya something, yes, is out of question. That is that's his position as at now. So the dream of saying, maybe they could join, Kenya Kwanza is out. And so when Dan Manzo then says that if Kalonzo Musyoka was to join Azimio, then the people would join UDA, it's such a glaring contradiction, because then he's suggesting that Kalonzo Musyoka is not in touch with these people. Because if he was, he would not rule out the possibility of joining an entity that otherwise Dan Manzo claims that the people would join. I think it's people like Dan Manzo who are inclined to Kenya Kwanza and who are holding Kalonzo Musyoka from joining the winning team. Let me now come back to the fact as they are. Huh? One, you see, what would be the issue of doing the same thing and hoping for different results is Kalonzo Musyoka saying he's running all the way. The last 2 elections that Aaron talks about, they did not lose. They were robbed, and they were robbed by his own team. Kalonzo Musyoka, deputies and Raila Odinga won the election, including the last one, which was actually confirmed by the Supreme Court. But they, using all those machinations, they still made sure that this team that won was not declared. In 2007, and that is actually the proper reference point, when Raila also won, and you know that overnight, after they switched off the live streaming, when Raila had opened about a 1.5 million lead, then overnight, by 6 a.m., it had reduced to 200,000, and shortly thereafter, it is said that Kibaki overtook him, and shortly thereafter, Kibaki was sworn in darkness. That is not a lose. He won, and that is what now forced the situation that we saw. But that is the time that Kalonzo insisted to do what Dan Manzo and his people are urging him to do now. He insisted on running. So the test should be, look at the votes he got in 2007. Because at that time, like now, there were 2 major formations. There was I think then it was PNU formation, and then the ODM formation. And the best that Kalonzo Musyoka managed was to come a distant third and then to negotiate what he called kupita katikati. Now, you don't set out and insist that you want to be president hoping that utapita katikati tena. No. What you do now is you select either of the coalitions that are major, negotiate all you want, because that's what coalitions are about. Negotiate all you want, but then join a proper team. Because right now, Kalonzo is even in a worse position than he was in 2007. Because in 2007, Ukambani was solid. Right now, all the three governors, sitting governors, have pulled away. His best bet is to join his three governors in the Azimio movement and come to any sort of understanding. Now, I would not be the one to start speculating that, oh, they put conditions in terms of money. And even then, the kind of money is being talked about, I think, would be outrageously high. It is not untrue that sometimes in the course of negotiating coalitions, people ask for money. We have it on the authority of Edwin Sifuna that in the last elections, our friends who have now joined the Kenya Kwanza, Musalia Mudavadi and Moses Wetangula, were given some money. Edwin Sifuna has come out on record and has said it. Okay? So that is something that sometimes could happen. In fact, there's even speculation that right now there was some such negotiations. I would be the last to categorically say that because I'm not seized of the fact. But it is not uncommon. Sometimes it can be part of the deal. But I think the fundamental thing is not the question of monies here and there. In coalition building and agreement, it's always about interest. First, it's about consideration of where are your interests best protected. Secondly, it's a question of if then you succeed, what's in it for you? Now, Aaron Cheruiyot says he hears that there was an agreement with Wiper that win or lose, Kalonzo will be supported for presidency. I mean, that's just strange. Nobody can negotiate on the basis that you will lose. And in any event, if there was any such agreement, by now, there should have been anybody, even Dan Manzo here or anybody should have been quite happy to show it. There was no such thing. You cannot negotiate on the basis that when we lose, then this, because that then would be defeatist. The agreement has always and will always be premised on the basis that we win. And when we win, the following will happen, and then you tabulate them, you see? And if for any reason you do not, then you sit down and negotiate further that the last time we may have won and we were robbed, but this time, this is how it's supposed to happen. So in my assessment, if you look carefully, even from the last election, all the way from 2007, 2013, 2017, I don't know where one would draw the conclusion that UDA can win. Because for us in Azimio, Raila has retained all his bases. Okay?
Yes.
He has retained all his bases with the additional advantage that bases where he never used to get any votes, like the Central Kenya region, have now come up very nicely and are quite high up there. And to the best of my knowledge, what Jubilee had always depended on was a solid support in what would be the Rift Valley region and the Central region. With the Central region gone almost more than 50%, and with substantial portions of the Rift Valley supporting Azimio, I don't see where they would get their votes. Their hope was that if they get Musalia Mudavadi and Moses Wetangula, then the Western Bloc will swing their way. But it is clear that the Western Bloc is not following the two gentlemen. The Western Bloc is still solidly with us. So, as things are shaping up, I would completely agree with Governor Ngilu. I think she's given Kalonzo Musyoka the best free advice anyone can give. Man up in time, join Azimio, negotiate for whatever interest, and let's move on. Otherwise, you will be out there. UDA, you would be a misfit because you can't, for reasons we've already said here before, it tends to attract people of a certain leaning, which so far you are not. Yes. So join the people who are of the right leaning and join them in time. Because if you stay out, you will not make it. And with the law that we've passed, you cannot hope to build a post-election coalition. Build that coalition now.
Build that coalition now. All right. Could we just wind up all Dan Mazo? You seem we want to defend that particular...
Yes,
let's wind up on it briefly.
first and
Then we
foremost,
flip over to page 10 of the Standard as well, briefly.
Yes.
You want to comment, yes?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, that you can never be 100% for sure how an election is going to turn out. An election is a game of numbers. I do not believe up to now, and that is the biggest challenge on the Azimio team, they have not yet penetrated Central Province. In fact, the Jubilee bloc largely remains as it was. So we are yet to come up with a formula on how Azimio is going to penetrate the Jubilee bloc as it were the last time. And then secondly, one as a freedom, there is democracy. We already have an OCA coalition. Azimio is also a coalition. And the UDA is also outgone the Kenya Kwanza coalition. And therefore, there is enough time, to negotiate. And in that negotiating table, if the people you are negotiating with also do not seem to recognize exactly what you are worth, and I believe the three governors really are not commanding any following at all. If anything, if Charity Ngilu does not work with the Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka this time, she will lose her governorship. Mutua and Kibwana, both of them were assisted to capture governorship by the Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka. So on their own, I can assure you they do not have 10% of the Kamba vote. Right now, they've got a following who will estimate about 5,000 people only. Therefore, they are inconsequential and they are the wrong persons to advise the Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka. We will soldier on. We have a right also to seek votes in the country, and I believe we can win the election also.
Yes. All right. Let's hear from Aaron Chirot, then went upon it briefly.
I was just wondering which country Otiende lives in. For anyone who still believes that Raila still holds a sway in any of his former previous voting blocks, save for Luo Nyanza in Kenya, I think there must be a stranger who landed in this morning. The truth of the matter is that Raila has substantially lost virtually each of the previous voting blocks that used to show up his support for 2013 and 2017. You know very well that Western Kenya, the direction that it has taken, generally, even before actually, long before the joining in of Musalia Mudavadi and Moses Wetangula, there was already a good vibes about UDA and its presidential candidate. And therefore, when this gentleman teamed up with us to form Kenya Kwanza, they actually strengthened us the more and made this particular team the force to beat. Don't be deceived by that government political party that has been formed in the name of DAP, and trying to buy candidates. The people of Western Kenya are solidly behind the formation that is Kenya Kwanza. And I say that with authority, having spent a good amount of time the last 2 weeks in that particular part of the country. The same can be said about the former Coast province. And there's facts to prove that. Who would have imagined that a little bit of last year, remember we had by-elections in even those regions, that ODM will struggle as they did. They struggled in Kisii, they couldn't win in 2 by-elections. They struggled in Western Kenya, they were beaten by Ford Kenya and ANC, which is now strongly part of Azimio. At the coast, while UDA-leaning candidates were scoring 10,000 and emerging as victorious, ODM could marshal up only 5,000. So I don't know what is this stories that Otiende still believes. Lower Eastern, Dan Manzo has told you the truth and the reality of the ground. You very well know that apart from the showmanship that you see in Central Kenya, where people are put in a tent and paid attendance fee to come and cheer and go home, there's nothing of note to write home about. You can see the direction. You can see majority of the region's leadership where they are leaning because they are listening to their people and they know the direction they are going. So basically, Dan Manzo is within the proximities of reality when he speaks and says that for sure if elections were to be held today, all factors held constant, the Kenya Kwanza coalition will win actually round 1 fair and square. So my good friend Otiende Obolo better be best advice, though I would understand where he comes from. You know, if he doesn't say the things he's saying, and especially now being 2 months to ODM nominations,
Yes.
I don't want the fate that has befallen
we shall look, yes.
my colleagues from that region to happen to my good friend Otiende. So I want to plead with Otiende that please continue with that trajectory. You must insist and be serious about it. Otherwise, you will not see that ODM certificate.
Do you want to comment, or maybe we just move on?
You know, fortunately, unlike my friend Aaron Cheriot, for me, whether I'm in parliament or not, I will still have my bread on the table.
Aye.
So I do not have to say anything.
You think?
I do not have to say anything just for the seat. And everything and anything I say is always based on the analysis. And the analysis is very clear. Without going back, you know, and forth on this, you know, they tried the coast, and for some time there are those who are trying to lean towards UDA. They quickly realized that the ground was shaky. They all came back to Azimio, including Governor King, including everyone. They have no one at the coast. They tried this in Kisii. Their point man, the deputy governor, quickly realized that they were going nowhere. They ran back to Azimio. They tried this in Northeastern. Northeastern is solidly now, you know, behind Azimio. They tried this virtually everywhere. So when they keep chest thumping, other than parts of Rift Valley, you know, they really have no base. And if you look at the analysis, and this is not just about talking, just look at the voting patterns and analysis from 2007 especially, 2007, 2013, 2017, then you'll realize that the bragado by UDA is on quicksand. And that is why even those who have joined them lately, like Musalia Mudavadi and Moses Wetangula, instead of focusing on why they have joined UDA, keep explaining why they left Raila. I mean, it's such a reunion. They've already moved on. Why don't they explain to the people what is this that is good in UDA and what's in it for the people? There's nothing. So for us, we are quite comfortable with the analysis as it is now.
Thank you. All right. Let's gravitate this conversation also to the new development, and this is happening at The Hague right now. What does it really portend for the Deputy President? We know that lawyer Paul Gicheru's trial at the International Criminal Court, ICC, over alleged witness tampering begins today at The Hague in the Netherlands. Some witnesses who were to testify to cooperate with the court. Duncan Haimba puts this into perspective.
Once again, the country's attention will shift to the Hague-based International Criminal Court, the ICC, in Netherlands, as another Kenyan, High Court advocate Paul Gicheru is put on trial in relation to the 2007 post-election violence. And although it is Gicheru who will be on trial, tight focus will be on Deputy President William Ruto, who the prosecution claims he bankrolled bribery machinery to interfere with witnesses who are to testify against him and his co-accused, radio journalist Joshua Arap Sang. In the court filings, DP Ruto is referred to as big man who wanted no stone left unturned. Deputy Prosecutor James Stewart's role will be to place Gicheru at the heart of witness tampering, a matter that will have the DP sitting on the edge, since the court might revive a case that is still lying in the prosecutor's drawers should Gicheru be found guilty. The prosecutor headlined up to 12 witnesses, but 6 are no longer available to testify in the proceedings. Witnesses 0495, 0731, 0732, 0733, 0734 and 0735 declined to give their testimonies in the case. According to the prosecution, witness 0495 stated that he was promised a job offer anywhere, even if he did not have the right qualifications. The witness allegedly told witness 0613 that he had agreed to be paid 2.5 million kickback and had also been offered a job as a private security officer. In his case brief links to the court, the prosecution states that witnesses 0495 was to provide key evidence linking DP Ruto to post-election violence crimes committed in Tarbo. On witness 0743, the prosecution says they are hostile and had sought Kenya's assistance to force them testify. The witness is believed to have linked the late Meshack Yebei to a team that interfered with witnesses in the Deputy President William Ruto and Joshua Arap Sang's case. The witness is wanted for his claim that Gisheru and Yebei were part of a plan to have witnesses in the Ruto-Sang case recant their statements. Yebei was touted as a star witness against Ruto and Sang. He was abducted on December 28, 2014 and found dead days later. In 2015, ICC denied Yebei was on the witness list but regretted that he had been killed. Lawyer Gisheru's case revolves around 6 witnesses who the Office of the Prosecutor says were crucial to its case against Ruto and Sang. They are 0397, 0516, 0613, 0800, 0495, and 0536. The prosecution argues they were offered kickbacks of between 500,000 and 2 million shillings. It says it will take about 27 days to present its case before Trial Chamber 3 Judge Maria Samba. Duncan.
So it begins today, and also you can grab a copy of the Standard page 10 where this is well fleshed out for you, where Gisheru's day in Hague Court will be Deputy President's trial by extension. And it says here in court filings, the Deputy President is referred to as quote-unquote big man Ruto, who wanted no stone left unturned. There is a witness the prosecution says is hostile, and it had sought Kenya's assistance to force him to testify. Lawyer Paul Gisheru trial before the International Criminal Court over the alleged witness tampering starts today, with some witnesses declining to cooperate. Although it is Gisheru who will be on trial, focus will be on the Deputy President William Ruto, who the prosecution claims bankrolled the bribery machinery to interfere with witnesses who were to testify against him, and the radio journalist Joshua Arap Sang. In court filings, the DP is referred to as a big man Ruto, who wanted no stone left unturned. And also you've been given the statistics there, the trial statistics. ICC trial starts today. He's appearing before the trial chamber 3 Judge Maria Samba. Gisheru is claimed to have tampered with witness in DP William Ruto and Joshua Arap Sang's case. ICC issued warrants of arrest on March 10, 2015. Gisheru surrendered to the Netherlands authorities on November 2, 2020. Prosecution to issue an opening statement, but Gisheru will not. Gisheru is appearing before trial chamber 3 Judge Maria Samba. A reputation there. Also, ICC pre-trial chamber A confirmed the charges on July 5th, 2021. He's expected to face 5 witnesses, 6 witnesses. Witnesses are not expected to testify. 1 witness is labeled as hostile. Let's, before we take a short break, just also look at this and how this is portending for Deputy President with his campaigns as well. Why is it providentially coming right now, even as we're heading towards general election? Senior Counsel, let's just begin with you.
Personally, I don't find the story interesting or worth focus.
Worth focus,
I actually think it's a subterfuge. I think the timing of this whole trial is meant and timed to earn the Deputy President's sympathy. The way the whole ICC trial came to play in favor of both President Uhuru Kenyatta and DP at the time. Because I don't think much turns on it for a number of reasons. First of all, you must remember that the chief prosecutor right now was the lawyer for the president and the DP at the time, and therefore is in control, including of the timing. So the fact that lawyer Paul Gisheru is going to trial just around the time the things are heating up in Kenya, in my view, is not by coincidence. Secondly, I don't expect much to come out of this trial because he's being tried for witness tampering in the first place. And that witness tampering succeeded in scuttling the whole case against the Deputy President in The Hague. So the main witnesses who should have testified, some were killed, some were threatened, some were bribed, including the late Yebei, who was killed and was supposed to be a star witness. I am sure that that same machinery, therefore, which at the time Lawyer Paul Gishori is alleged to have masterminded, is the same machinery that is interfering with this trial, and you can see that a number of them are unwilling to testify, or they have turned hostile. So I don't think this trial in itself will go far. You see, the justice system always believes that things ought to go the way they're planned. That if you are an accused, you'll be given the opportunity to defend yourself, and that the witnesses who are supposed to testify against you will not be interfered with, will not be killed, will not be intimidated. Where we are, the machinery of the deputy president succeeded in sabotaging that whole justice system, even at the international level. And if they could sabotage it for the main case, you can imagine how much more they will for this lesser case of witness tampering. So I think that even if it seeks to proceed, it will go nowhere, but it is timed to earn sympathies for somebody to think that now the deputy president is being put on the dock again because he's a presidential candidate. And in my view, these are things that should just be treated differently. I would not waste my time focusing on this trial myself.
Right, but Karim Khan also recused himself on this particular trial.
But recusal, look, when you are the headmaster of a school, and you say, I will not teach this particular class because I'm the headmaster, and then you assign the newest, admitted teacher to go and teach, do you doubt that you're still in control?
All right, let's take a short break and we'll circle back with Aaron Cheriot. You're watching Siasa Fiesta here on Morning Prime. Don't go away, much more coming up on the other side of the break. Also, just remember that, yes, the deadline is looming. That is March 26th. And also, we know that the political parties registrar is trying to put every duck in a row as far as party sanity is concerned. We shall be looking at that with the new Political Parties Act that is coming into place as well. What does it really portend for the nominations that are really coming up? Don't go away, much more on the other side of a break. We should discuss it.